To the untrained eye, these cliffs on Nova Scotia's Bay of Fundy shore could be any stretch of coastline in Atlantic Canada. Rocks that over countless millennia have been beaten by both the weather and the world's highest tides. But this is not just any rocky shoreline. These are the world-famous fossil cliffs of Joggins, Nova Scotia. For more than 150 years, scientists from around the world have come here to study and marvel at the finest and most accessible geological record of the Earth's coal age. Compressed into each layer of stone are the clues to what life was like 300 million years ago. Meet two modern-day scientists who share a fascination for these cliffs. On the right is 29-year-old Brian Hibbard. Born just a stone's throw from the cliffs, he is a true Renaissance man, a self-taught paleontologist. On this day, he is walking the beach with 31-year-old Dr. Mike Riegel, a geologist who has been drawn to these cliffs since he was a student at Dalhousie University. They are like kids in a candy store.
Yeah. Uh-oh, there we go. Didn't even have to use the chisel. Oh, it branches again. Yeah. That is cool. That is really cool. It's better than I hoped for. I figured we'd just see another little terminal end.
This is the first time the two men have seen such a complete example of the fossilized roots of an ancient tree.
Honestly, that's like textbook photo kind of quality.
These two young men represent the next generation of scientists who have been drawn to these cliffs for more than a century. Scientists like Sir Charles Lyell, the founder of modern geology, who visited the Joggins fossil cliffs in the mid-1800s, looking to unearth its secrets. And Sir William Dawson, the first Canadian-born scientist to achieve a global reputation despite never completing his formal education. And scientists like Charles Darwin, who refers to the Joggins fossil cliffs in his groundbreaking work, The Origin of Species. Brian Hibbard has been combing the cliffs for fossils since he was a teenager, with the exception of 7 years when he lived in Los Angeles, working in the television and movie business. But the siren call of the cliffs trumped the LA sunshine.
Every day that I'm at home or if I'm at work, I'm on the beach for a little bit of time. If I can, I'll be down here for 12 or 14 hours in the summer. After I'm done work, I'll go down and do some research afterwards. If I have a day off, I'll be down on the beach. So whenever I get a chance, it's just one of those things, you live near here and you want to experience it. And I realize how many hours that the geologists in the past put in over their lifetime, and I'd like to put in much more than that.
But the interesting thing with this is that whole business of a dry land water hole, our interpretation for these giant clams being in a dry land water hole doesn't fit here now.
It does not.
It doesn't fit at all. So
one of the scientists who is passing the torch to Brian Hibbard and Mike Riegel is this man, Dr. John Calder, senior geologist with the Nova Scotia Department of Natural Resources. He too grew up near Joggins and has been fascinated by the cliffs since he was a boy.
The fossil cliffs, to me, they have both a personal meaning and they have a meaning that I've tried to help to convey to the world. For me personally, they're part of my life that goes back to when I was a boy, and found one of my first fossils here when I was 14. They've been the biggest part of my life, and trying to make people believe that it's possible for us to convey to the world that they are of outstanding universal value. When I walk on the beach, for the first time after not being here for a while, and the fog drifts in, touches and dissolves against the cliffs. You do feel like you're walking in the footsteps of Lyle and Dawson, and you can almost think you could hear their voices on the sea breeze.
I caught the bug at around age 16. I actually met John Calder on the beach. He was a really nice guy, and he explained some things for me at an early age. He informed me of a couple of books that I could look at, and really took off from there. I went to the library, found out as much as I could, tried to memorize everything, matched up fossils from pictures that I saw in books, and it's really taken off from there.
But John Calder says Hibbard hooked himself. He recalls the day Brian invited him to his home to show him a fossil he'd found.
He was probably only at this time in grade 10, and I showed up with Dr. Andrew Scott from the University of London. We went up there together to see some fossils. He had something he wanted to show us. And he came out of his kitchen with a fossil carefully carried and wrapped in newspaper. We unwrapped it and looked, and he said, "What do you think this is?" Well, I could tell it was bone material. It was from a coal age creature. I wasn't quite sure what it was. He said, "Could it be the skull roof of a haplolepis, the scientific name for a certain type of fish that lived in the coal age waters?" And then presented a copy of the scientific paper that documented it, which he had somehow ferreted out through the local library, through interlibrary loan. And both Professor Scott and I looked at each other. Yes, it could be, you know, and we were just amazed.
Okay, guys, we'll pick up where we left off yesterday then. How about, I don't know.
Dr. Mike Riegel is a geology professor at the State University of New York.
Kyle, if you want to go for it, I'll set up the notes.
As part of his ongoing research, Riegel and his students spend the better part of every summer carefully measuring and describing the various layers of rock that make up the cliffs.
It's about, I go for 2-3 centimeters.
Okay. I first came here in 2000 when I started my graduate work at Dalhousie University. These rocks are carboniferous in age.
Total thickness is 63 centimeters.
Okay, and the thickness of the package on top?
17 centimeters.
These coal-bearing rocks crop out all over the eastern half of North America, through Western Europe, over into the eastern parts of Europe. And of all those exposures, all of those coal fields, these rocks might be the most important because every year the cliff erodes back a little bit more and things are completely brand new.
When land and sea returns, why everything old is new again. 300 million years ago, Earth was a very different looking planet. All the continents as we now know them were bunched together in one landmass called Pangaea. Present-day North America was butted against the Horn of Africa, and what is now Joggins, Nova Scotia, was a primordial tropical forest. This was the time when life forms were crawling out of the water and adapting to life on land. Plants and early animals were bursting with life. Mike Riegel picks up the story.
The tropics were green. And, you know, and there were plants pumping out oxygen. We're talking almost 30% atmospheric oxygen. We've got insects that are 2 meters long because they've got this oxygen-rich environment and can grow to huge sizes. We've got, just like the trees learned how to deal with the terrestrial world, we've got amphibians that figured out, oh wait, I can take my pond with me and encase it in an eggshell, and now I can make a go of life on dry land.
Over the next 15 million years of evolution that are documented in the Joggins Cliffs, the forests were repeatedly flooded and covered in sediments. Hollow trees like the Sigillarius were filled with these sediments and over the eons hardened into perfect casts of the tree trunks. Some years these fossils of the trees embedded in the cliffs are exposed, and it was in the trunks of these trees that fossils of some of the first land creatures on Earth have been found.
They're a place where, unlike or better than anywhere else, we can see what life was like in the coal age. For here we have preserved not only the fossils where they grew, the trees where they grew, but we're able to see inside that world with as nowhere else. We actually can see that there were the earliest reptiles, amphibians living inside trees that were scarred by passing wildfire. To have that level of insight, to be able to reconstruct with such eloquence the ancient world is really a phenomenal and unrivaled claim to fame for Joggins. So it's a place where we can look back at a time in Earth history that was pivotal for the evolution of life on land.
There is a secret weapon at Joggins that helps scientists in their quest for knowledge. The Bay of Fundy has the highest tides in the world. Each day, 200 billion tons of water flow in and out of the bay. Combined with fierce North Atlantic winters, the cliffs are under relentless attack from nature, an attack that works for science.
We find these fossils, but it's not just lying loose with no context. We get these fossils, we know exactly which bed they came from, and it allows us to put these organisms in their ecological context. A lot of the other places, the bits and pieces have been moved around and transported some distance from where the organisms actually lived. So it's new exposure all the time. It's fossil discoveries from those new exposures that can be placed into their context. And it's quite accessible too.
While Mike Riegel is studying the story told by the cliffs, Brian Hibbert is looking for the mysteries hidden inside the rocks.
I'm studying the rocks for ancient organisms, fossils, early reptiles, amphibians, fish, insects. So I'm putting together a very visual panorama of what the animals are looking like and what type of environments they're in, but environments as living environments. Like, what are the trees looking like? What are the ferns looking like? Are there interactions between those? Are there interactions between the animals and the plants? So as Mike's looking at climate through tens of thousands of years, when I look at a bed of rock, I'm looking at a single horizon and trying to infer, what's going on in that bed.
When Land and Sea returns, what's next for Joggins? When John Calder began his love affair with the Joggins fossil cliffs some 40 years ago, he wanted two things: a permanent home in Joggins for the fossils found there, and designation of the Joggins cliffs as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. In the summer of 2008, both long-held dreams became reality. A new $9 million interpretive center opened its doors to the public and began receiving thousands of visitors.
Canada proudly received confirmation that a 15th Canadian site that gained one of the highest levels of international.
And just a few weeks later, the community gathered at the center to hear that at a meeting in Quebec City, UNESCO had declared the Joggins Cliffs to be a World Heritage Site, joining a list of places that includes Stonehenge, the Taj Mahal, and the Great Wall of China. A designation John Calder says will allow his life's work to be carried on by the next generation.
So most of the fossils we have are from a certain age, like they're fairly old, yeah?
Yeah, they're all Carboniferous age, 314 million years old. All the fossils here are originals. There are no replicas, no casts. Amphibian.
It is the day after UNESCO has declared Joggins an official World Heritage Site, and Brian is welcoming the first official guests to the newly designated center. Duncan and Jan Stanners are from Calgary, and are quite taken with what they're seeing, and Brian senses their interest.
I'll show you a couple of new things. It's a little messy, but you'll see.
Look at that.
Oh, it's beautiful.
These are called annullaria. Annullaria are they're not flowers, they're the leaf petals from the calamite plant, and the calamite are related to the horsetails.
Right.
And if Brian can't be down on the beach looking for fossils, this is where he wants to be, sharing his knowledge with everyone who has a like-minded passion for the fossils.
This is the one you should see under the microscope because it's very much like the teeth that are in that jaw. It's being magnified 200 times from here up to there. There's actually 15 teeth in that jaw, but you're only seeing 4 because it's magnified so much. You can see the brownish area, that's the jaw itself.
When he's not working at the center, he's on the beach, burnishing his reputation as one of the sharpest sets of eyes in paleontology, something he attributes to serendipity.
There are times throughout the year where it seems that I'm really lucky because every single day I go down, I'll get new information. And little bits of information are worth their weight in gold. If you can come away with just little tidbits every day, it really does add up, especially over a whole summer. I continue to go into the fall and the spring, and sometimes even in the wintertime, if there's not very much ice in the bay. But every little tidbit of information helps to gain the story. So every day, yeah, there's little bits of information. There's always new things to be found, as Mike was saying.
John Calder says it's got nothing to do with luck.
People from afar, from Cambridge, from the University of London, from the Smithsonian, have all been so impressed with this young guy. We realize that he is not just somebody who is lucky at finding fossils. It's much more than that. He knows, he reads the rocks, he knows that they have certain clues within them that lead him to the fossils. And he is far better than any man or woman alive that I know of with a PhD or any other collection of degrees after their name.
Do you want to do the every other bed game where Kyle and I can do this one and then you all break down the next one? And I'll be right with you then.
Calder holds Mike
what do we have for
Regal
thickness
in
then?
equally high esteem.
Okay. And
Mike is an incredibly generous person, just as a human being, incredibly ethical, caring. He gets the importance of Joggins to the community. But as his qualities as a geologist, he's amazing. As Brian is to discovering fossils, Mike is to understanding the relationships of the sedimentary layers, the rock layers that contain the fossils. He's an extremely good field geologist, an amazing eye for reading the rocks. But beyond that, he's a wonderful human being.
this is the first place that I gave it my all. Every bit of creativity and observation I could muster, I applied to these rocks. And it was a lot of years of real hard work and working with a lot of really talented colleagues. But I gave this place my all, and I feel, here I am 8 years after I initially started my work here, and I really feel that we've made a significant advance. This is when I really learned to be a geologist on these cliffs.
While Brian has found a number of fossils never before discovered at Joggins, he has his sights set on his own personal holy grail.
I'm on the outlook for one of the very first eggs. That would be, historical to find a fossil egg from the Carboniferous. And also the large bugs that we have here. You're talking 2 meters long. To find a complete skeleton of that would be amazing. So those things, it keeps you going because you never know what you're going to find.
Do you think they're here?
I know they're here. It's just a matter of time before somebody finds them. And if you're down on the beach every day like I am, there tends to be a little bit more opportunity for me if I'm down here. It's patience and having a fairly good memory. So when you go through the beach, I can notice if there's new rock falls, if there's a new rock that had come down, I can realize that wasn't there yesterday. So there's a chance that there could be something in that rock.
The red bed's up there too?
And it is that kind of commitment that reassures John Calder that the future of the Joggins fossil cliffs is in good hands.
I have absolutely no fear that my work and the work of others before me will not be carried on here. It's very clear. It's really encouraging to see the likes of Brian and Mike Riegel, of course, coming here, and many others. I have absolutely no fear that when my day on this earth is done, that there will still be people here working, caring for the cliffs, making new discoveries. It's not something that I ever worry about.